I assume everyone can handle the orders they have been given? Any questions? Good. Give him hell, boys. Dismissed! Commander, your efforts in this war have earned you a great honor. You, Stavros, and myself will personally lead the direct assault on Moscow. With all the other fronts covered, it is up to us to destroy Stalin's fortifications and remove the Soviet seat of power. You have also earned the right to be the first to test the newest addition to our arsenal, the chronosphere. With this to help you, even Stalin's new Iron Curtain will not be able to stop us.
Einstein wanted me to warn you that the chronosphere could produce unknown side effects. Be careful when using it. Even we do not understand its full power.
Yes, use it cautiously. Get going, and give Stalin hell. We will see you in Moscow!
Welcome back, Commander, to the final mission in the Allied campaign.
Mission saved.
Now, personally, I have this marked as mission number 14, but again, a couple missions ago, there was a mission that was split into two parts. And depending on who you ask, it's referred to as 11 and 12. This mission's actually the introduction of, I guess, the last different unit in the Allied arsenal. Tanya's two cohorts, bodyguards, escorted personnel, are the thieves. The thief, well, personally I don't really like them. As you might imagine, the thief does everything that's in the name. He just steals stuff. But, as you might imagine, there's also not very much to really steal. You don't steal technology, so to speak. So, the only thing left is income. And while that does sound like it could be interesting, the thief, he doesn't have any cloaking or disguise ability like the spy does. So you have to hope that whenever you use the thief, that you're basically trying to infiltrate a base that doesn't have any defenses. Now, if you happen to find yourself playing this mission, it's usually a good idea to go after that truck. Tanya might not be able to kill it by the time it, starts driving south, but if you can manage to use the barrels for their quote-unquote intended purpose, you can snag a nice amount of money for yourself. Another thing to mention is that the Tesla coil that shot the barrels near where we started is a scripted event. It's kind of like a check for the AI to make sure that you've actually moved.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Now, this is a little interesting. Reason being is that normally when you're playing this mission, you have Tanya, you have the two thieves, you're meant to go around so that you can attack from the quote-unquote rear, so on. But whenever you actually clear out the base, which is a dangerous proposition, mind you, because the AI kind of sells all its stuff, but it's only when, I believe, all its production is down. Maybe the construction yard also has to be a part of that, but I could have sworn that wasn't the case 100% of the time. Regardless, all your units that come in as quote-unquote reinforcements should spawn near that flare. That's why there's a road, going out to the outside of the map. So it's a little weird that for some reason I managed to get everything to spawn from the southern location. And despite having replayed this mission a number of times, so I can get some Chronosphere info, I couldn't get it to replicate itself. And there's nothing that's blocking that side of the map, so I don't know. It's a mystery for the ages, I guess.
Options.
All that said and done, it's usually a good idea to set up your base where this flare is. The old Soviet base, while it does have a little bit of space and is surrounded by a nice amount of cliffs and other impassable terrain, it's not really ideal. And you're not really as close to any mineral fields as you would be, even if you do have some gems to start off with. Interestingly, Tanya isn't mission critical for this level. If you happen to lose her after you started your base, there's no penalty for it. But really, I won't miss $800, so why not spend that money on a medic and make sure I don't actually lose her. Now, I played this on both the normal and easy difficulties, easy being shown here due to the aforementioned loss of a lot of my recordings. And suffice to say that the AI is way more aggressive at normal, and especially so with aircraft. Generally speaking, it'll be more MiG focused rather than anything else, but the AI does toss in some Hinds and some Yaks every so often.
Unit ready.
Waiting order.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Shake it, baby!
Unit ready. Construction complete. New construction
Vehicle
options.
reporting. Vehicle reporting.
Building.
Vehicle
Unit
reporting.
ready.
Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative.
Construction complete. Building. Training. Building. Construction complete. Unit ready.
Our initial setup point doesn't have too much in the way of entrances for the enemy to get into, and thankfully once you actually get the GPS satellite, it's easy to spot where you actually will want to defend, or at least when you have to defend, because honestly, if you can put down a couple turrets and a couple pillboxes at both the western and southern entrances, you're pretty much okay for anything, really.
Construction complete.
Sometimes the AI will toss a bunch of grenadiers your way up north where Tanya is nearby, but it's a rare occurrence if anything.
Yes, sir. No. Yes, sir. No.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Vehicle reporting. Waiting order. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, it's always handy to have some AA guns around, just in case the AI decides to airdrop some units. It's actually interesting that they get the Chinook, because, I mean, they already have the Badger Bomber, so why give them, you know, the separate item?
Unit ready.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
I want to say it might have to do with the potential loadout you can get, because, well, we'll see it in the Soviet campaign, but there's restrictions involved with the Badger Bomber.
Lost.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Sufficient
acknowledged.
funds.
Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Construction
Yes, sir.
complete.
Affirmative.
Primary building selected. Building. Jensen.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Vehicle reporting. Yes, sir. Waiting orders. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
This mission is actually pretty good at showcasing just how much efficient you can make your war factories. Because, honestly, after a while,
Building.
you tend to just like accumulate a lot of wealth if you don't do anything. Especially if, like me, you're running a double or triple refinery with ore truck, with like some additional ore trucks. Oh, and if you thought we were gonna get a break from Iron Curtain stuff, you were wrong.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
So we can see from the minimap that there's 3 avenues to go towards the left side of the map.
Vehicle affirmative.
I prefer going with the southern one,
Yes, sir.
just because there's the base, and both bases aren't tied together. Meaning,
Yes, sir.
if you happen to destroy one, like, it's not going to get rebuilt by the second. So it's always a good idea to go around and take care of this group first.
Vehicle acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, affirmative. Vehicle acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Waiting order. Affirmative. Affirmative. What's that? Yes, sir. Affirmative. Vehicle up.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
When it comes to war factories and production, I guess technically any building that produces stuff, there is a... I don't want to say there's a limit, but you can kind of see that the number of war factories I built had increased the... or decreased the time it takes to build a unit. But there is still, however, an actual... it always feels like there's a limit, because it feels like it's like a percentage increase. And what I mean by that is,
Unit ready.
when you have after your first war factory, I don't know what the actual values are because I haven't looked it up,
Low power.
but it feels like, you know, the second war factory makes it so that your medium tank, say, is 25% faster to build, and then the next one is 12.5% faster to build, and then 7.5, and so on and so forth.
Affirmative.
Our
Vehicle
base is
acknowledged.
under attack. Unit lost.
I'm not 100% sure if that's actually how the progression goes, but it does have that effect. So because it's a reduced increment every time,
Yes, sir.
it feels like, you know, after the 4th or 5th war factory, you're better off just staying where you are and producing tanks.
Reporting.
Unit lost. Building. Unit lost.
Vehicle
Unit
affirmative.
lost.
It actually kind of sucks that I'm playing on easy rather than normal, because
Building.
production is also faster on normal.
Ready.
And when I was building medium tanks, it was even faster than it was now. It was just kind of funny to me to have, say, $4,000 in the bank, and 5 seconds later, that's already drained.
Vehicle acknowledged.
Construction complete.
This is me just checking every last building I have.
Insufficient funds.
So this happened both on easy and on normal difficulty, and I'm not entirely sure why. It also is like replicated incredibly easily if you use the chronosphere. It seems that if you decide to move some units into the enemy base, they'll kind of just immediately drop everything and put every unit they can into that small confined area. And I don't mean specifically the one next to the construction yard, just that area in which like you transport or have a unit last in. So it kind of messes with how the AI defends its buildings, or defends its base more specifically.
Unit ready.
Kind of means that if you were savvy about it, you could chronosphere a unit, say up north, like in the northwest position of the map, and sucker all the units into that area, and then attack from the south. You'd basically be giving yourself a bunch of free time to do whatever the hell you want, because it would then take the AI that much longer to move units over to where it actually needs to be. And don't mind the cut, that was... somehow I accidentally hit Alt-Tab, so it messed with the recording for a second.
Reporting. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Speaking of the chronosphere, it is possible, since there's water on the map, and since I've been corrected, for you to build a naval yard, get a cruiser, and then basically teleport them into that pond on the bottom left.
Vehicle. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, acknowledged.
Granted, without any air support, or air defense, I guess, more specifically, it's kind of easy meat for easy pickings for any Hinds and MiGs that show up, but you still have the cruiser available. I don't think that it would be able to hit the construction yard, probably the power plant,
Yes, sir.
but I don't think that destroying those 3 power plants would also unpower the base. But honestly, I don't really know. This might seem very wasteful, but honestly, I'd prefer getting rid of the AI's construction yard. I probably wouldn't have been able to kill every last tank here. And even if I did, I probably wouldn't have enough forces to actually do much else with. And as we've seen, it doesn't really take me much to get another tank army up. I should also mention that of the 3 avenues to go to the western portion of the map, I don't believe the southern one actually gets an increase in anything on higher difficulties. I could be wrong, but I know for certain that the middle and top portions both get some, like, an extra medium tank here or there, or an extra V2 rocket. I don't believe the same applies for the southern crossing. And there's the chronosphere, folks. It's a little lackluster, honestly. Probably doesn't help that the AI has like 4 Hinds that it can easily attack with. Now, if engineers, even if they were garbage, or rocket soldiers, if I wanted to spend the money on that instead, it'd be cool if you could teleport an APC, but if memory serves me correctly, the APC just kind of vacates everybody inside on teleporting.
Insufficient funds. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
I know some people are saying, well, you know, why could you teleport a boat? You only lost, you know, when you lost a couple people on there. So if you teleport a tank, then shouldn't you also lose crew? And I guess just in game, there's an excuse where the tanks and other vehicles are manned by more than one person. So even if you did lose a guy or two, it's fine. I don't know.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting.
I did notice that in the briefing, they mentioned that the Chronosphere's abilities are not that they're undocumented, but that they are hazardous. And I only figured this out by looking at the rules.ini file. The Chronosphere has this property, I believe it's called like a Chronosphere Vortex or Chronovortex. And effectively, it's supposed to like cause damage and act like a sort of tornado / whirlwind.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Reporting. Yes, sir.
Oh, it's a vortex. So I'm looking here at the rules.ini file right now, and it says Chrono side effects. And allegedly, it's supposed to cause a quake 20% of the time. I've never seen this happen.
Yes, sir.
The quake itself is also supposed to do damage. And on top of that, there's also the opportunity to have a vortex, which says percent chance that chronal vortex occurs with each chronoshift use, also at 20%, which I've also never seen.
Yes, sir. Reporting.
If a vortex does manage to occur, apparently, it will do 200 damage in a range of 10, and the vortex is supposed to, I guess, bleed outwards at a speed of 10, which is pretty fast. But again, I've never seen that happen. So I guess maybe if it's disabled, then who knows? If it's not, then maybe that's, you know, this supposed to be the selling point, so to speak, of the Chronosphere. Where if the Soviets have the nuke, which is supposed to do damage in a large radius, then the Chronosphere is, you know, something that transports it anywhere, typically inside your enemy base, and then would immediately cause a vortex, which would do 200 damage to a rough area. It doesn't sound like a lot of damage, especially since, you know, there's a lot of buildings that have 500-700 health, etc. But if you got in a power grid and damaged a whole bunch of power plants at the same time, it could be pretty devastating for the defenses of a base.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, acknowledged. Awaiting. Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Awaiting. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Yes, acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Another thing that is like never spoken of, and I know is something that I've seen time and time again, is another effect of the Chronosphere, which basically says that the Chronosphere is supposed to have a duration. So what's supposed to happen is a vehicle is supposed to, or an item, unit, whatever you want to call them, a unit is supposed to be transported from one location to another, but only temporarily. In the rules any file, the chronosphere is marked as having a duration of 3, which means that after 3 time units, however you want to count that, or however long that actually is, after 3 units of time pass, the unit's supposed to go back to its original position. Now, I don't know if that's like an approximate position, if there's some other like hidden effect. I've never seen it happen, and I'd like to think I've played this game a decent amount of times. On top of that, yeah, unfortunately, the chronosphere is marked specifically as having the ability to kill cargo. Although technically with a small rules change, you could modify that. But, again, that's something best left to custom missions and expanded stuff. Despite the fact that there's not really anywhere to truly like chronosphere something and have it last a long time, it is still something you can do to be a nuisance. And there's a couple areas on these cliffs where you could easily transport somebody, and unless the AI decides to shove a tank very close or get a V2 rocket nearby, you can kind of just do whatever you want for a little bit. Now, it's also clear to see that the AI has a nuclear silo, but I don't believe I've ever wasted so much time, or I guess just taken long enough, for it to ever actually come into play. So I don't know if that's like a legit nuke it has, or if it's just something for flavor. Kinda like the church next to the command center. I can't say I ever expected Stalin to be like a huge churchgoer.
Unit ready. Unit lost. Unit lost.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Vehicle reporting.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Reporting.
And once again, once one force is gone, time to send in another army. The AI also continues its nasty habit of selling stuff, even though it probably can't handle it.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unit
Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Waiting order. Acknowledged.
I guess one small nitpick is that the AI is really too good at selling stuff. It always seems to manage to sell a building before I ever get the chance of destroying it. And you can also have it cause a couple of interesting issues. Not that they're important, but sometimes a building will get sold and it generates an infantry unit, or however many units that building is supposed to normally generate, so on and so forth. However, it is possible, if you shoot at it fast enough and you just have that much damage, to blow up a building that's being sold. And if you do that, it will also generate infantry. So you can have these weird occurrences where a power plant will get sold and an infantry will pop out, or maybe two, and on top of that, the building will then blow up and also generate one or two infantry.
Yes, sir. We acknowledge. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged. Vehicle. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Vehicle. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, affirmative. Reporting. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting order. Waiting. Affirmative. Vehicle. Report. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Waiting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting. Acknowledged. Waiting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Vehicle. Report. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Waiting. Affirmative. Waiting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Report. Affirmative. Affirmative.
I will admit though, if I had a cruiser right now, it'd probably be really fun to just bomb all those airfields.
Our base is under attack.
You might be wondering what I'm doing here, and I'm pretty sure it's because I went to go grab a drink.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
I'm a little disappointed that all my units didn't just start shooting.
Affirmative.
Apparently that's something you have to set the units to guard mode for them to actually do that.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit
Yes,
ready.
affirmative.
Building. Training.
Waiting. Acknowledged. Vehicle acknowledged.
I keep checking there because, I mean, that hind should really be moving. I don't know why it's stuck in that one position.
Vehicle acknowledged.
Especially since it keeps trying to land, but there's nothing for the AI to reload, so it keeps trying to move.
Be affirmative. Waiting order. Reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Waiting order. Yes, sir. Waiting order.
And there's no way it should have this many hinds that just suddenly appear.
Yes, sir. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
So yeah, unfortunately, if things continue the way they are, then I'm gonna have to run quite a few rocket soldiers from one side of the map to the other.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
At least there's still a lot of cleanup to do.
Ready. Training. Construction complete. Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Primary building
Yes, sir.
selected.
S3. Waiting order. Affirmative. Waiting acknowledged. Reporting.
Oh, what you're hearing is a bunch of mines going off. Remember how I said that the Soviet forces had AP mines? That's them in action.
Yes, sir. No. Affirmative.
They still do damage to ground units, regardless if they're APC, medium tank, war truck, whatever. The only issue is that they obviously don't do a lot of damage to such vehicles.
Building. Unit ready. Training. Unit ready. Select target. Construction complete. complete.
Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Target.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Vehicle. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged.
Training. Unit ready. Training. Unable to comply. Building in progress. Unit ready.
It should probably be said that it's, again, nice that we don't have to deal with Tiberium, because it'd probably be a pain in the ass to get those rocket soldiers over from one side of the map to the other. And, yeah, I could have probably built an APC, but I don't know, there's something about not building a single APC in this campaign that I guess I'm just going to stick with. Alright, make your move, Hind. There's something funny about doing that too. It's a shame the other Hind never lands, because I do the same thing to it.
Yes, sir. What's that, sir? Affirmative. Reporting. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, affirmative. Yes, sir. Vehicle affirmative.
And that's basically it for the Allied campaign. So stick around for the Soviet one.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Vehicle acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Waiting orders. Go. Yes, sir.
Unit ready. Mission accomplished.
Over here! I found someone! Jeez Louise! It's Stalin!
Figures that bastard would survive.
Well, orders are orders. Come on. Help me get him out of here.
Private, what do you think you're doing?
Sir, it's Stalin. He's still alive.
Private, I don't see anyone there.
Right here, sir. It's
I don't believe you heard me, Private. I don't see anyone here. Do you?
No, sir. I don't see anyone. Must have been the wind I heard.
That's what I thought. Now move out.